Now at 5.
I think we got shots fired.
Inside the investigation, into the response.
I need to shut down Stoneman Douglas.
What went right and what didn't during a deadly school shooting. And the Broward Sheriff's Office invited CBS 4 News to listen to those transmission calls.
They called CBS 4's Carey, who's live now at BSO headquarters near Fort Lauderdale. So, Carey, what have you learned from your meeting there?
Quite simply, Rudabeh and Rick, a lot. In these 911 the radio call transcripts, as well as the radio transmissions themselves, they reinforce many of the questions about Broward Sheriff's School Resource Deputy Scott Peterson and his actions that particular day. Also, the inability of the Coral Springs Police Department and the Coral Springs Dispatch to communicate with the Broward Sheriff's Office in those beginning moments. But ultimately, what these transmissions reveal is the chaos and the real-time decision-making that took place on that tragic day. According to the Broward Sheriff's Office, suspected school shooter Nicholas Cruz entered Building 12 at Stoneman Douglas High School at 2:21 p.m. 15 seconds later, he started firing. Dispatchers in Coral Springs started receiving first-hand calls from the school about 1 minute later, BSO says. School Resource Officer Scott Peterson got on his radio a short time later at 2:23 p.m., 1 minute and 53 seconds after the first shots were fired.
We have possible, could be firecrackers. I think we got shots fired. Possible shots fired. 1200 building.
Seconds later, Peterson's first command is to shut the area down.
Juliet 3, make sure we get some units over here. I need to shut down Stoneman Douglas, the intersection.
While Cruz was firing inside the school, a deputy from the middle school next door who's responding to the scene asked if they had a description on the shooter. At this point, other deputies arrived, and there's confusion.
Tango 2, I hear shots fired by the football field. Shots fired by the football field.
This is now 4 minutes into the bloodshed, and Peterson continued to make decisions.
Get the school locked down, gentlemen.
Despite the confusion about where the shots were coming from, Peterson reiterated seconds later, nearly 4.5 minutes since the violence began, that the shooting appears to be in the 1200 building.
26, so we also heard it over by inside the 1200 building.
Multiple deputies are on scene at this point, but the confusion about where the shots are emanating from continued.
1784, we definitely have shots being fired.
Then Peterson made another call to dispatchers about keeping everyone away from the 1200 building where Cruz was and where students and teachers lay dead and wounded. This is estimated to be about 5 seconds after Cruz left the building.
Do not approach the 12 or 1300 buildings. Stay at least 500 feet away at this point.
By this time, it's not clear how long the shots had stopped being fired, which might have changed the type of law enforcement response, but more deputies arrived. There's chaos as students are leaving the building, and deputies are now talking about responding to an active shooter.
Set up for an active shooter response when you get 97.
A deputy responded to a victim as Cruz left the school with other students, hoping to blend in.
I have the gunshot victim. He's by the entrance to Westglades on the west side of the school. Carey, does he know where the shooter is? We don't know, but we're entering the building in front of the 13 building, building 13. 17 kilo for myself around there. We need to get units in here so we can start trying to find this guy.
By now, Cruz had been gone from the school for several minutes, and the district commander of Parkland, Captain Jan Jordan, is first heard. She's been criticized for calling for a perimeter at the scene, but the radio calls show the shooting was over and that Cruz left the building, although it's not clear that Jordan knew that information.
I know there's a lot going on. Do we have the perimeter set up right now and everybody clearing out of the school?
A few minutes later, Jordan again mentioned a perimeter.
I want to make sure that we have a perimeter set up and the school's being... all the kids are getting out, so we need to shut down around this school.
And the bottom line is that officers did not make their way into Building 12, according to this transcript released by the Sheriff's Office, until 11.5 minutes after the shooting started, multiple minutes after Nicholas Cruz had left the school. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. We did have an opportunity to sit down and speak with BSO Colonel Jack Dale this afternoon to talk about some of this. He discussed the deputies not going in the building. He also discussed the problems with the radio communications between BSO and Coral Springs. He also talked about the captain from Parkland there discussing a perimeter. Here's a sampling of what he told us.
I don't know that any chaotic scene like this ever goes perfectly. The first responders are tasked with assessing a situation that is rapidly evolving with a lot of different pieces of information, and they have to multitask under high stress. The movement toward the shooter in Building 12 did not occur, but it didn't occur because there was no information that the shooter was in Building 12. They did not go into the 1200 building initially because they were dealing with the possibility of shots fired on the exterior of the building and into the football field. Coral Springs operates on a separate radio channel for their police services than Broward County Sheriff's Office. So anything that occurred on the Coral Springs channel would not be able to be heard by the deputies that were on the scene, and vice versa. They would not have the information that was broadcast on the BSO channels on their channel as well. Deputies are unsure of the location of the shooter or the numbers of shooters. So when Captain Jordan asked the question if there is a perimeter set in an attempt to contain the individual, that was a reasonable question.
A couple other pieces of information to pass along. The Broward Sheriff's Office says that their deputies actually tried to go in one of the buildings on campus first, before those Coral Springs officers went into Building 12. However, the building that BSO tried to access sometime after the shooting took place was the 1300 building, not the 1200 building where the shooting took place. Again, adding to the confusion of what was actually transpiring that day. We also learned that 2 Broward Sheriff's deputies were going into Building 12 with those 4 Coral Springs police officers. However, those 2 Broward Sheriff's deputies did not make it in at that first moment because they stopped to assist a victim and get that wounded victim to safety. Live at the Sheriff's Office, Carey, CBS 4 News.